So a week-ish after that, I'm taking a nap taking a nap at home, tired. And so Devin comes in the room and he's like, "We have to go to Alabama." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, why? Yeah, let's go. But why are we going?"
Yeah.
And so do you know where Sylvania, Alabama is?
Mm, no, I don't.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's why. It's the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So his aunt, whom he hadn't talked to in like years, calls him and it's like, "You need to come to this revival in Alabama." And he's like, "Okay." So we get in the car, we go to Sylvania, Alabama, which is in the middle of nowhere at this big tent revival. Okay. And we're there, and there's this evangelist there that's speaking. His name is Tommy Combs. Look him up if you want.
Okay.
Um, and he is healing people. That's one of the gifts of the Spirit is healings and miracles.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's healing people, and all he has these people stand up that he healed from the day before. So all the people across the congregation standing up, and he's going through saying, "Say what you were healed for." And they're saying blindness, deafness, diabetes,
Mm.
osteoporosis, broken bones, like everything. So in my mind, I'm still in a state of disbelief. So although I received salvation and I had that vision, I'm still in a state of like, well, I don't know. So in my mind, I'm like, all of these people could be paid actors. Like, this is so easy to just say, "Yeah, I was healed."
Yeah.
So I'm like, this could all be fake. I don't really
Yeah.
believe any of this. And so he says, "Everybody that wants to be healed, come up to the front." And so all these people line the front, and mind you, we're in the second row. So one of the people that was in the front is this little girl who is sitting directly in front of us in the front row. Okay. And she has crutches and a cast, and her ankle is black and blue, completely broken. Like, I saw it with my own eyes. And she couldn't walk on it. And so he's going through the line, he's anointing them, he's blowing on them, and they're passing out. Every single one. He's going
Mm.
through the line, and all these people in the front are passing out. And in my mind, I'm like, these people are so dramatic. Like,
Yeah.
why are they doing this? Like,
Which
this
I think most people would think if they haven't experienced this.
yeah, I'd never seen this a day in my life. I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow, this is a bit much.
Yeah.
Very, very dramatic. So the same thing happens to the little girl. The little girl falls out, and she stands up after a little bit, and she's shaking like me right now. And she's shaking. And when she gets up, she's smiling, and she hands her mom her crutches, and she takes off her cast.
No.
Foot that I literally just saw that was black and blue and broken was completely white, completely healed, back to her same skin color, no longer swollen, and she starts standing on it. And then she starts standing only on that foot and hopping on just that one foot, and then skipping around the tent, giggling. And I think I'm going crazy. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa. So I'm feeling the spirit building.
Oh my
And
god.
his aunt looks at us and says, "I think you guys need to go to the front because
Mm.
we receive word of part of our calling
Yeah.
from the Lord through Devin." And so we go up to the front, and Devin tells him part of our calling because that's what we thought we had to do right now, but that's in our immaturity. And so we go up to him and we tell him, and he joins our hands, he anoints our hands, and he takes the oil from his head that he anointed himself with and puts it on our heads. And he says, "You guys will never want for money ever again." And he blows on us. That's significant because part of our calling is to go into missions, but that's not now. That's going to be probably in a few years.
Mhm.
But he said that. And one of the words that he was saying when Devin was having his 6-hour tirade was Jehovah Jireh, which means God provides. And up until that point, we had seen God provides, Jehovah Jireh, pasted everywhere. We saw on walls and places that we had never seen it before. All of a sudden, it's popping up. So back to this. So he says, "You will never want for money ever again," and he blows on us, and we both fell out. From the center of my heart out to the bottom of my toes, the top of my head, to the tips of my fingertips. It was the most insane feeling I have ever felt before. I have taken a lot of drugs at the same time, and it was more intense than any of them combined.
Mm.
It was like fire, but good fire. Like,
Yeah.
I really can't describe it. We were literally, we passed out, but it felt like something catches you and pushes you on the ground. And
Mm.
we're looking at each other and we're crying and we're laughing because you're at a point of pure ecstasy. That's what
Right.
it feels like.
Yeah.
And so then all these people that we don't know, we're in Sylvania, Alabama. We're not from there. We're
Yeah.
from Georgia. We know nobody here. All of the people in the congregation come up and start throwing money on us. I have pictures to prove this. They start throwing cash and checks on us, literally
What?
just throwing money on us. And the evangelist looks on us and said, God just paid for your first trip. And so we get home and we look, sure enough, it's exactly the amount that it would be for us to get to the place that we've been called to.
So, I'll be honest, I've never seen anything like that, like, I've never seen anybody be slain in the spirit or, like, healings happen on the site, so I really enjoyed hearing, your experience with that. It definitely builds my faith, and I know it will for the listeners as well. I remember when I first became a believer, I was really intrigued by other people, like, I wanted to know this has been since the beginning, like, "Tell me how you came to believe," and I asked my great-grandfather, that same question, and he told me he became a believer, like a true believer, when he saw somebody be slain in the spirit,
Mhm.
and so I never really knew what that meant, and I still even leading up to this podcast with you, I didn't really know what it meant, so I was excited to hear you talk about it.
Mhm.
Um, and it makes me think of too, I'm not too educated on it, but I know there's something called baptism by fire.
Yes.
So
So, yeah, I could enlighten.
yeah, yeah, please.
When we were passed out or flown back onto the ground, that was when we were being slain in the spirit, and that is literally experiencing the spirit's ecstasy, the spirit and all of its pleasure is the
Mhm,
word I guess I would use. The other one being baptized in fire, I experienced, um, a few weeks after that. So, mind you, this stuff doesn't happen this fast, usually.
mhm,
Um,
usually.
but usually it does, obviously, but a lot of because it's just part of the calling that he has placed on our lives. It's like he had to condense it all into
Yeah,
smaller amount to hurdle us forward. So
yeah, I get it.
a couple, I think it was 2 weeks. Everything has been like within 1 or 2 weeks that each encounter happens. So I was at, if you want to witness these healings, by the way, and I forget what state you're in,
Florida, I'm in Florida.
Florida, you could come to this. It's in Georgia. We're not that far, but North Georgia Revival or Christ Fellowship Church, God had gave the pastor a vision of fire on the water, on the baptism waters, and it said that I will baptize people in fire. I will baptize my children in fire if you do it. And so he's been doing that. And this is where I saw a woman of cancer literally fill out before me. So it's not in Alabama. I mean, you can do it in your own home, really. It's not the place or the person because everybody has the power to do these things.
So
Um,
ask you just ask and well, this takes me back to there's so much to unpack here, like, when you first wanted to believe in God, you were, like, open and you were asking him, like, "Please help me see something," and then he started giving you the visions. I know I had that experience too before I believed of, like, asking him, and then he came to me in dreams and visions as well, so I know, like, it can be that simple of just asking, but I don't know if that's what it takes to experience what you're talking about.
mhm. Are you the healings or the baptism of fire?
Baptism of fire, and I guess I'm a little confused. The baptism by fire, it seems like that goes hand in hand with healings.
Baptism in fire is what happens before you get the power to do these healings. That
Mm.
makes sense because you can pray. There's power in prayer. He hears your prayer, so everybody could pray for a person, right? But the apostles, it says that they being baptized, then they were released out
Mhm.
to move in power and authority of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
This becomes before being sent. So
Okay.
the fire that ascends, it ascends from above. So I'll go back to this how my experience with it. I was at this church, and I was at this revival service, and they were just worshiping, and it was just they were singing and singing and singing, and there was one of the songs, and I when I'm in worship, sometimes I'll sing, but sometimes I'll pray, and I was
Mhm.
feeling really, really, really led to pray. And so I had my hands out as if waiting to receive, to hold. And so I'm praying and I'm praying and I'm praying, and I start to feel it descend on me. The way that I could describe it is when you're at a campfire and you're listening to the crackling, and you
Mhm.
can hear the crackling and you can feel the heat on your face. It started to descend on me and it got down to my belly, and it felt literally like this crackling of the fire, and it was hot and it was almost uncomfortable, but it wasn't like painful. It was a completely different situation
Mm.
than the pleasurable fire that I had felt before.
Okay.
And it I was praying and the spirit literally shut my mouth. Literally, as if to say, just feel, just experience, just feel the fire, receive the authority, receive the power that I have given you. Because the fire, while you can pray for it and you can ask for it, the spirit is what gives it to you.
Mm.
Spirit of God is who chooses to give this to you. You can ask, but the spirit is what chooses.
And you said you were at church worshiping when this happened?
I was at a revival service,
At the
yeah.
revival,
It's
worshiping.
a church that just holds revival in the evening.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I was at their evening service and I was just worshiping, and it just descended, but this was after, I mean, I had been praying without ceasing. I've been getting up in the morning and I had been praying for hours, and I had been praying for hours after that, and just my whole day was just prayers and prayers and prayers.
Yeah. So like you said, you were seeking the kingdom with your whole heart.